What organ is involved in Cushing's and Addison's disease? Adrenal what? Cortex, more or less, right? So we know the adrenal cortex secretes two hormones. What are these two hormones? Cortisol, which is known as corticoid, which is corticosteroid, and the other one is what? Aldosterone, which is known as the mineralo corticosteroid. So what does cortisol do or glucocorticoid do to the blood glucose levels? Increase. Why? Why do you want the glucose levels to be increased? In what situations would have to be increased? Okay, flights, right? Remember stress situations. Why do you want the blood glucose levels to be high?
We need energy.
To survive. To run away from the burning building. To run away with a person with a high gun or high-powered gun, right? You want to run away. You need energy, right? So in Cushing's, everything is what? High hormone levels, right? It's called hyperadrenalism, hyperaldosteronism, right? Increased aldosterone, hypercortisolism. So a patient with Cushing's, therefore, would end up with what kind of blood sugar levels? High or low?
High.
So they will have hyper what? Anything above 115 or 120, hyperglycemia. What does aldosterone do to your sodium levels? Sodium is what? Retained by what? By what organ? Who instructed the kidney to retain the sodium? What hormone? Aldosterone. Because what is the target organ of aldosterone? The kidney. It's produced by the adrenal cortex. It releases into the blood. It goes all the way to the kidney. Remember, the adrenal gland is on top of the kidney. So there's really a short distance, but it has to travel to the blood circulation. So, if you retain sodium by the kidney, what happens? What would be the problem in Cushing's?
Water.
Okay, let's talk about sodium first. Let's talk about water later. Concentrate, you focus on what is being discussed, right? We don't talk about water, we talk about sodium. You develop what? Hyper what? Greater than what? What value is expected you to memorize?
1.5.
Perfect. Milliequivalents per liter. What about water? Now, this time there is what? Water retention by the hormone, telling the kidney to retain water, especially when you're dehydrated, diarrhea, right? It's a homeostatic mechanism. So if you retain water, you have what? Increased water what? Retention. What happens to your blood pressure? High or low?
High.
What happens to your weight? High or low? There's nothing you cannot explain here. What about potassium? What does aldosterone do? Potassium is K+. Potassium is excreted by the hormone, right? By the kidney, right? So this hormone promotes potassium excretion by the kidney. So if this were potassium, and you make wee-wee, the potassium is in the wee-wee, what happens to the blood potassium levels? High or low?
Low.
And that is called what? Hypokalemia. What does that mean? The blood potassium level will be what?
Low.
Less than what? Do you need to memorize values, normal values? 3.5 to 5 is normal. Okay? Why do I know? Because I know. Why do I expect you to know? Because you should. Because in the nursing board exam, are they going to give you the normal values?
No.
No way, right? Okay. So notice, why did I only discuss one side? Because everything here will be the opposite. It will be the opposite. Instead of retaining water, you will have poly what? Instead of hyperglycemia, what do you have here? Hypo. What about hyponatremia? I don't want to write anything here. So if you are studying for the nursing board exam, I only expect you to memorize that condition that has high levels of the hormone. And the expectation that I have for you guys is to know the normal function of that hormone, because if you know the normal function, then you know the effect if you have high levels or low levels of that particular one. Hormone. Aside from this, you have what? Moon phase.
Fat fat.
What is fat pads? What is fat pads made of? Fat. And where do you normally find them? And what is the proper term that they use to describe that? Yes? Dorsal cervical fat pads. What else? It begins with letter B, and the second word begins with letter H. Yes? Okay, I answered my own question. It's called buffalo what? Did you encounter that in your readings? How come you didn't answer me? I told you, gave you the clue, B and H. The reason I'm all saying this is this. When you take the nursing board exam, sometimes, what out of the choices of your answers, it might say fat pads. Dorsocervical fat. What about if they just put the word buffalo hump? And you eliminate that answer because you thought that it's not related to the manifestations here. Then can you pass or can you fail the exam? And they only took one question to fail an exam, by the way. Okay? So what is the reason when there is a buffalo hump? Is the presence of what? Excess fat here. Okay? Now, so there is what? Truncal obesity. There's poor wound healing because of the effect of steroids or immunosuppressants, anti-inflammatory drugs, right? You have high levels of what? These hormones are all corticosteroids, right? So, important thing to remember. Okay, you are given a question in the nursing board exam. Who do you think will benefit by giving a banana? Cushing's or Addison's? Cushing's or Addison's? Okay, why Cushing's? Because the potassium level is low. Are we going to give bananas to patients with Addison's disease?
No.
Because you'll make it worse. Patients could die. Right? So can you imagine you answered yes, I will give a banana to Addison's. What will the computer say? Incompetent. From a different nursing school. Do not hire. After you don't get your license. Okay. Who do you think will benefit if I order this IV fluids? What is sodium chloride? 0.9%. A saline. What does saline mean? It contains sugar, salt. What kind of salt? Sodium chloride salt, right? Who do you think will benefit by giving this kind of IV fluids? Cushing's or Addison's? Why? Who suffers from low levels of sodium? There you go. Am I going to give that IV fluid to Cushing's patient?
No.
Because what will happen? You're going to make it worse. Patient will possibly die. So whenever I tell students, when I was doing the nursing review, every wrong answer you have is a potentially dead patient. Even though there's nobody dying, but the way you think, the way you answer reflects on the kind of nurse you are. Whether you are knowledgeable, whether you're competent or not. Okay, I hope you understand. It is not my intention to make you, I always say this, but despite, even though I say this for the 9 weeks of the faculty, although he keeps on saying, I don't want him to make look dumb or stupid, but he makes us make me look dumb and stupid. If I were to do a psychoanalysis, it's very simple. When you come to class and you're not prepared, what will you feel? Dumb and stupid, right? It's not my intention to make you look dumb and stupid. I'm just saying that you have to come to class prepared. So you are prepared because you are going to be given a quiz today, right? But I'm here to help you. So don't ever think that it's my intention to deliberately make you look dumb or stupid. No. My intention is to give you a wake-up call and say, hey, you know what? All these things can be answered by anatomy and physiology. Okay? So who do you benefit here? What about KCl? Who will benefit with KCl? Okay. Now KCl is potassium chloride. If we give this intravenously, we have to put the patient on a cardiac monitor. Why? What? It can cause cardiac arrest. I'm not kidding you. If you give this drug, fight fast, OMG. I remember the old James Bond movies in the 60s. You were not born yet. I was probably 9 or 10 years old. Who's this? What's the name of this famous British James Bond? Sean Connery or something? And I used to remember during those times, I remember all the titles. You Only Live Twice. Oh, was it You Only Live Twice? Or was it?
You only live once.
You only live once. You only live once. And then this woman dancing in a bikini. And then in the movie, it's always against Russia and the US, right? So this Russian and American spy, they have this KCl with them. and they pretend to wear a lab gown. They go into the hospital and nobody's watching. Guess what they do? And then you see the flat line in the cardiac monitor. So whenever we give KCL, we always make sure that we have to put the patient on the cardiac monitor, okay? To prevent any fatal arrhythmias. Do you understand, okay? Okay, now, let's move on to... oh, by the way, before I forget. Addison, who was the famous president who died in 1962, killed by Lee Harvey Oswald? JFK. He had what? Addison's disease. But you know why? He was lucky. He was studying in London in the 1930s. Why was he studying there? Because his father was the British ambassador of the United States. Now, why do I know all these things? Because I Googled it. Actually, I knew it beforehand. So even though I wasn't born in those times, you can always read, right? So his father was the ambassador to Great Britain at the time, and I believe he was studying there too, sort of like summer classes or what. And he had Addison's disease. Now, can this kill you?
Yes.
You have polyuria. Can you develop what we call Addisonian crisis?
Yes.
With all the electrolyte disturbances, right? Hyponatremia, hyperkalemia, OMG. Sky's the limit of dying, right? So what do you think was being researched upon, the new drug at that time in the 1930s that saved his life? Steroids. Remember, have you heard of steroids? Hydrocortisone, prednisone. I would expect every milligram of that probably $100 per milligram. I don't know how expensive it was because it was just... So anyway, was he rich? Yeah, he was very rich, right? His father is the ambassador and they have this place in Martha's Vineyard, right? They're rich now. He survived because of that, right? Do you understand, right? Now, what about hypo and hyperthyroidism? Hyperthyroidism. Hypo. What's the most common example they give for hyperthyroidism?
Grace.
Very good. Graves' disease, remember? So you have high levels of what? T3, T4. T3 stands for triiodothyronine. T4 stands for what? Thyroxine. Okay? Here, high levels of T3. What? Low levels of T3, T4. What do these thyroid hormones do? The main, give me the two words. Cellular what?
Growth hormone.
Who said metabolism? That's the word I want.